Welcome to the final installment of our three-part series exploring the lasting economic impact of Donald Trump's immigration policies. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden costs many don't talk about, how these policies led to a loss of tax revenue, skyrocketing costs for businesses, and economic instability in farming communities. These ripple effects go beyond numbers. They're reshaping lives, industries, and the future of America's economy. Let's dive into the final chapter of this crucial story. Donald Trump's immigration policies, including heightened deportation efforts and restrictions on undocumented workers, have had a significant economic impact that extends beyond labor shortages. One of the most overlooked consequences is the loss of tax revenue. Despite lacking access to most government benefits, many undocumented workers contribute billions of dollars annually through income taxes, Social Security taxes, and sales taxes. With fewer undocumented workers in the labor force due to deportations and policy changes, the government faces a shrinking tax base, creating financial strain on public services and budgets. Let's examine how this loss of revenue impacts the economy and society as a whole. It's a common misconception that undocumented workers don't pay taxes. In reality, many contribute significantly to federal, state, and local tax systems. They pay income taxes through payroll deductions, Social Security taxes using individual taxpayer identification numbers, and sales taxes whenever they make purchases. A report from the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy estimates that undocumented immigrants contribute approximately $11.6 billion in state and local taxes annually. However, because these workers are ineligible for most government benefits including Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment insurance, they pay into programs without reaping the rewards. This means their contributions directly support public services such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure that benefit all citizens. Trump's administration prioritized deporting undocumented immigrants, significantly reducing their numbers in the workforce. This has had a twofold impact: immediate loss of payroll taxes. With fewer workers paying into the system, programs like Social Security and Medicare lose critical funding. Shrinking state and local budgets, sales and property taxes, which undocumented workers also contribute to, decline when these workers are removed from communities. Local governments, particularly in states with large immigrant populations like California, Texas, and Florida, feel the brunt of this revenue loss. For example, rural counties that rely heavily on agricultural workers have seen declines in funding for schools, public health initiatives, and infrastructure projects due to reduced tax contributions. The loss of tax revenue creates a ripple effect that impacts public services. Schools, healthcare facilities, and transportation systems rely on steady funding to operate effectively. When budgets shrink, governments face difficult choices: cutting services. Essential programs like Medicaid, public education, and housing assistance may be scaled back, disproportionately affecting low-income families. Raising taxes. To offset revenue losses, governments may increase taxes on remaining taxpayers, placing additional financial strain on households and businesses. For example, a county that experiences a significant reduction in agricultural labor due to deportations may struggle to maintain funding for rural hospitals or road maintenance. These cutbacks not only reduce the quality of life for residents but also hinder economic growth. Undocumented workers contribute billions annually to Social Security and Medicare through payroll taxes, yet they are ineligible to receive benefits. According to a report by the Social Security Administration, undocumented workers contributed approximately $12 billion to Social Security in 2019 alone. These funds help sustain the system for U.S. citizens and legal residents. When deportations reduce the number of workers paying into Social Security, the program faces increased financial pressure, accelerating concerns about its long-term sustainability. While this issue predates Trump's presidency, his policies exacerbated the problem by shrinking the pool of contributors. Donald Trump's immigration policies significantly reshaped the labor market in the U.S., creating ripple effects that continue to challenge businesses. With stricter immigration enforcement and fewer available workers, employers have faced labor shortages, forcing them to explore costly alternatives such as raising wages or investing in automation. These measures, while addressing immediate staffing issues, come with long-term financial implications. For small businesses in particular, the rising costs have proven difficult to manage, leading to closures or downsizing. Let's dive into how these challenges are impacting industries and what they reveal about the broader economic landscape. The labor shortage dilemma. Industries that historically rely on immigrant labor such as agriculture, construction, and hospitality have been hit hardest by labor shortages. Trump's policies, which included heightened deportation efforts and restrictions on visa programs like H-2A and H-2B, drastically reduced the pool of available workers. Without enough employees to meet demand, businesses are left scrambling to fill critical roles. The financial burden of higher wages. Wage increases may seem like a straightforward solution, but they come with significant consequences for businesses, especially smaller ones. For example, a restaurant that raises wages to attract workers may need to increase menu prices to maintain profitability. While customers may initially accept small price hikes, sustained increases can drive away business, creating a cycle of reduced revenue and further financial strain. Industries like agriculture and construction face similar challenges. In agriculture, higher wages for farm workers mean increased costs for farmers, who often operate on thin profit margins. These costs trickle down to consumers in the form of higher grocery prices. In construction, higher wages for skilled labor can delay projects or make housing developments unaffordable, exacerbating the housing crisis. Automation, a costly alternative. For some industries, automation has become a necessary investment to address labor shortages. In agriculture, for example, robotic milking machines and automated harvesters have been introduced to offset the lack of workers. Similarly, warehouses and manufacturing plants are adopting robotics to streamline operations. However, automation is not without its drawbacks. High initial costs. The upfront expense of purchasing and implementing automation technology can be prohibitively expensive, particularly for small businesses. For example, a dairy farm investing in robotic milking machines might need years, or even decades, to recoup the cost. Limited applicability. Not all tasks can be automated, especially those requiring human judgment, creativity, or empathy. For example, customer service roles in hospitality or intricate construction tasks still require skilled human labor. Displacement risks. While automation solves some labor challenges, it can lead to job displacement in other areas, creating new economic and social challenges. Small businesses, which lack the financial resources of larger corporations, are particularly vulnerable to rising labor costs and automation investments. For many, these challenges can mean the difference between staying afloat and closing their doors. For example, a local retailer struggling to compete with larger chains may be unable to afford higher wages, leading to staff shortages and reduced operating hours. Family-owned farms often lack the capital to invest in expensive automation, leaving them at a disadvantage compared to larger agricultural operations. Independent restaurants face razor-thin margins and may struggle to balance wage increases with the need to keep menu prices competitive. These struggles underscore the disproportionate burden that Trump's immigration policies have placed on smaller enterprises, which are vital to the economy and community job creation. The dairy industry provides a clear example of how labor shortages and rising costs are impacting businesses. Many dairy farms rely on immigrant workers for tasks such as milking, feeding, and cleaning. With fewer workers available due to immigration restrictions, some farms have turned to robotic milking systems to maintain production. While these systems are effective, they come with a hefty price tag, up to $200,000 per unit. For smaller farms, this investment is often out of reach, forcing them to either downsize operations or exit the industry entirely. This trend has contributed to a decline in the number of small dairy farms, consolidating production among larger players. The increased costs faced by businesses inevitably trickle down to consumers. Grocery bills rise as farmers and food producers pass on higher labor and operational expenses. Construction projects become more expensive, driving up housing costs. Even everyday services such as dining out or getting a haircut become pricier as businesses struggle to cover rising wages and automation costs. These price hikes contribute to inflation, reducing purchasing power and forcing households to make tough budgetary decisions. Lower-income families in particular feel the pinch as their expenses increase faster than their incomes. The higher costs faced by businesses and consumers alike have broader implications for the economy. Reduced business growth. Small businesses struggling with rising costs are less likely to expand, hire additional workers, or invest in new opportunities. Slower innovation. While automation offers long-term potential, the high upfront costs can delay adoption, slowing technological advancement in key industries. Widening inequality. Smaller businesses and rural communities, which lack the resources to adapt, may fall further behind, exacerbating regional and economic inequalities. Rural communities across the United States, particularly those dependent on agriculture, have been disproportionately affected by labor shortages stemming from Donald Trump's immigration policies. Farms are often the economic backbone of these regions, providing jobs, supporting local businesses, and funding public services. When farms struggle due to a lack of workers, the resulting economic instability can devastate entire communities. Let's explore the cascading effects of labor shortages in agriculture and how they've reshaped rural economies. In many rural areas, agriculture serves as the primary economic driver. Farms not only provide direct employment to farm workers but also create ripple effects that support local businesses, schools, healthcare facilities, and public infrastructure. However, Trump's immigration policies, which reduced the availability of immigrant labor, left farms scrambling to maintain operations. With fewer workers available to plant, maintain, and harvest crops, farms face declining output. This reduction in productivity leads to lower farm incomes, forcing farmers to cut costs, delay investments, or abandon certain crops altogether. The economic stress on farms quickly spreads to the wider community, affecting everyone from equipment suppliers to grocery stores that rely on the spending power of farm families and workers. When farms struggle, the economic consequences extend well beyond the fields. Labor shortages often force farmers to let crops go unharvested, reducing their yields and revenue. For example, a tomato farmer unable to find enough workers during peak harvest may lose a significant portion of the crop, resulting in financial losses. Lower incomes for farmers mean less money circulating in the local economy, affecting businesses that depend on their spending. Case study: California's Central Valley. California's Central Valley, a region known as the agricultural heartland of the United States, provides a stark example of how labor shortages have disrupted farming communities. The valley produces a significant portion of the nation's fruits, vegetables, and nuts, but labor shortages exacerbated by Trump-era immigration policies have left crops unharvested, resulting in millions of dollars in losses. Local towns that rely on agriculture have experienced reduced economic activity, with small businesses reporting declines in revenue. For example, restaurants and retail shops in farm-heavy areas have seen fewer customers as farm workers leave the region. These challenges have also strained public services, as lower tax revenues limit funding for schools, roads, and healthcare facilities. Secondary effects: community inequality and economic decline. The financial strain on farming communities doesn't just affect farmers, it exacerbates inequality and economic instability for everyone in the region. Declining farm incomes reduce funding for community programs such as after-school activities, healthcare clinics, and public transportation. This creates a cycle of disadvantage, where rural areas fall further behind urban counterparts in terms of resources and opportunities. For instance, a school district reliant on property taxes from farms may face budget cuts, leading to larger class sizes, outdated materials, and fewer extracurricular activities. These challenges make rural areas less attractive to young families, further accelerating population decline and economic stagnation. The role of immigration policies in creating labor shortages. Trump's immigration policies, including increased deportation efforts and restrictions on H-2A visas for temporary agricultural workers, played a significant role in creating labor shortages. By reducing the number of workers available to farms, these policies left many agricultural operations unable to function at full capacity. While some argue that these policies were intended to prioritize American workers, the reality is that domestic workers often avoid farm jobs due to their physically demanding nature and relatively low wages. Immigrant labor has historically filled this gap, making their absence a significant blow to the agricultural sector. We've reached the end of our three-part series, and the picture is clear. Trump's immigration policies didn't just reshape industries, they fundamentally altered the economic landscape. From tax revenue losses to struggling farming communities, these consequences are far-reaching. What do you think? Can the economy recover from these challenges, or are we on a path toward deeper instability? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos breaking down the stories behind the headlines. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you in the next one.